Hello everybody and welcome to my July 18 ABC deck list where I'll go through all my picks and choices for the deck. Since ABC is a very versatile deck, you can run actually a lot of different engines on it. I preferred some engines rather than others, and this is the conclusion. This is my deck. I've been playing ABC since the Zodiacs got checked on the ban list. I used to play Zodiac Perform Pal. It was a pretty fun deck back in the day. But since the Dryden got banned and everything happened with the deck, I had to stop playing it, so I started playing ABC. I always found ABC a very interesting, resilient deck because it is never out of the spotlight. It's always there in the format somewhere. There is always this random top with the deck, and I really like the deck overall. You can always adapt it to the format. You can always change your tech choices in order for it to be there, playable, viable. It's never a tier 1 deck, so people don't really side against the deck that like heavily. So yeah, I really like the deck, and after formats and formats of playing, I found this build very nice. So let's get going with the deck list. I run triple A for the monsters, triple B, and triple C. I understand why sometimes people don't play C and A, because they don't want to see the letters, like multiple copies of letter C and A in the hand. But although I understand why they don't run it, I find the need to run Pot of Desires on the deck. I believe Pot of Desires is one of the best cards you can run because it generates a lot of advantage. It grants you 2 cards, it makes you see some combo pieces that you want to see, and I don't see why not running Pot of Desires in this deck. So if you run Pot of Desires, it is very risky. If you don't run triple copies of everything, you can always banish all of C's, all of the B's, all of the A's. So yeah, you just minimize the risks. So that's why I run triple of everything. For the hand traps, I run triple Veiler and triple Drawing Lockbird. Well, I don't have Ash Blossom. If I had, I would replace the Veilers with the Ash Blossom, but I believe Veiler, it's a very cheap hand trap and also one of the best around in the format. It can really hit some cards that some other hand traps don't. For example, if you run Ghost Ogre is a good hand trap, but against rogue decks, like dinosaurs and every rogue deck ever. But it is terrible against the Trickstar matchup. It is very bad against the Sky Striker matchup because you can literally trigger their array in the graveyard and you lose a lot of advantage on that. So it's not very good. But Veiler really does not have such problem. It really plays very solidly against the Trickstar, the Sky Striker, even the ABC, the Magicians, which is a very underrated deck in the format. Although it's very good, Veiler can deal with it. And Drawing Lockbird, if not the best, is one of the best hand traps of the format, because it can really stop the Goki explosivity on the first turn. It can literally shut down the Trickstar engine in a lot of decks that search a lot in the format. So yeah, I don't see why not running Drawing Lockbird. And for the Garnets, I play, one Garnet. So yeah, I do play the Brilliant Fusion engine, and I will explain why. I believe the Brilliant Fusion card is literally the only card in the entire Yu-Gi-Oh! That allows the ABC deck to play without the field spell, without Union Hanger. And there is a combo that explains this statement, and I will go through it in a second. This is it for the monsters. Now for the spells, I run triple Union Hanger and triple Terraforming. If Terraforming ever gets hit on the ban list, it would be a huge hit for the deck because Union Hanger is clearly the best card, the heart and soul of the deck. It just allows so much for the deck. It grants you a lot of advantage, and you always want to see it in your hand, like always. So obviously you run triple of everything. The biggest weakness I believe of this deck, like Ancient Fairy got hit on the ban list. It got checked. It got banned. And the biggest weakness of the deck, in my honest opinion, is that now that Ancient Fairy is gone, you used to have a lot more access to the field spell because you had the Dragon Ravine and you had the Destrudo. You could make an Ancient Fairy. You could pop up the Dragon Ravine and get the Union Hanger, but now you don't have it. So the deck lost its consistency regarding the Destruidal and Ancient Fairy engine. So we ought to do something about it. That's why, again, I'm running the Brilliant Fusion engine. But yeah, I run triple Call by the Grave. I believe if there is a card that negates any sort of interaction your opponent has with your deck, you have to run 3 copies of, and especially if it is not once per turn, because sometimes you don't want to get drawed in the terraforming. You can afford it. You don't want to get draw. You don't want to get ashed in the Pot of Desires. You don't want to get ashed in the Brilliant Fusion, in the Union Hanger. It really sucks. ABC is a deck that like has all of the hand traps, literally all of them hitting the deck, you know. All of them are strong. Ghost Ogre is strong against ABC. Perhaps Veiler is the only exception, but all of the hand traps are good against, so you must run it. I also run triple Hornet Drones. This is the only Sky Striker card that I run, because I don't have engages. I can't afford them, especially in my country. It's very expensive, and I understand that engage is such a good card for the deck because it adds so much consistency to it. But that's okay if you don't have it. Hornet Drones is the best card of the Sky Striker engine, in my honest opinion. It gives you this +1 very easily. You can generate a token, make Kagari. Kagari gets the Hornet Drones back, and it's very good against like going second, which is the deck. This deck is going second, and now we will explain why once again. Because this card by itself can disrupt 2 back rows of the opponent. You can Hornet Drones, get a token, Kagari gets Hornet Drones back. You can normal summon a letter. You can like link to, you make a Phoenix or a Cerberus, so you destroy something that they have there, and then you use Hornet Drones again and make a unicorn, taking off another one of their cards. So you take 2 back row, you take 2 cards, so and then you can play your Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah. So I don't see why not running it. Very good card. I also run triple Pot of Desires, and I know what you might be thinking. First, triple Pot of Desires is like an overkill, and Pot of Desires with Brilliant Fusion does not make sense. I believe it is worth the risk of both running triple Desires and with the Brilliant Fusion engine, because sometimes if you run 2 Pot of Desires, you don't always see it in your hand, and I believe it is very optimal if you always see it in your hand. And it is more likely for you to see 1 Pot of Desires than 2 Pot of Desires in your hand, in my honest opinion, of course. And if you open double Pot of Desires, at least you have it. You can draw 2 cards at the end of the day. So yeah, for me it's good. And about the Brilliant Fusion thing, although you can always banish the Garnet and draw the Brilliant Fusion, which is a really bad move. You wanna always kill yourself when this happens. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes you draw all of the desires, you draw the Brilliant Fusion, and you hadn't banished the Garnet, so you can activate it. Sometimes you open both the Pot of Desires and the Brilliant Fusion, so you can, speaking of which, I'm just gonna throw them here. Sometimes you open Pot of Desires and the Brilliant Fusion, so you first obviously activate the Brilliant Fusion. It can either get ashed, so you can activate Desires, or it resolves, you dump the Garnet, you dump a letter, and then you activate Pot of Desires. So yeah. Oh, whoops, my camera. Jesus Christ, I hit my camera. So yeah, I don't see why not running. I don't see why not taking this risk. It's a very, very powerful cards, Pot of Desires and Brilliant Fusion. And for the one-offs of the spell cards, I run 1 Upstart Goblin, and it's a 40 card deck, now 39. It is a very easy side out card for games 2 and 3. And also, if you think you're going through time in the following game that you were playing, you can side it out. But in game 1 and game 2, if the game 1 didn't last for a long time, you can always use it. It adds up consistency. 1 Dark Hole. I prefer Dark Hole rather than Raigeki in this deck for a very simple reason. Although this deck is going second, it's like a blind second thing. You always tell the opponent to go second, unless you know that the deck they are playing is like relying on the going first, like magicians or I don't know, some sort of sky strikers that you are afraid of, you can go first because this deck can also play first. But you get my point. If you go first and you open Dark Hole, you have a ladder and a Union Hanger, you can make Buster. You know, you activate Union Hanger, you search a ladder, normal summon the ladder. Oh, and this is the foolish video. You normal summon a ladder, equip C, and then you Dark Hole. C will trigger, go to the graveyard, activates effect. So you special summon the third ladder you have in your hand. You link up, make another Clock Taker pointing downwards, and then you search off with a B and make a Dragon Buster or a Buster Dragon. I think Dragon Buster. And there you have it. It's a very simple combo, and Raigeki cannot do it. One foolish burial because sometimes you find yourself in a position where you don't have any means of making link plays, so you just normal summon a ladder with a Union Hanger in the field. So you equip and you dump with the foolish burial the third ladder, the remaining ladder, to the graveyard to make the Dragon Buster. This is it for the spells, and I run 3 traps, and you guessed it, they are evenly matched. I believe evenly matched is a very strong card, period. It really can grant you a lot of advantage depending on how and against who you're using it. If you resolve an evenly matched, banishing at least 3 to 4 cards, it is very hard for your opponent to go back in the game, because ABC is a very explosive deck. It really just throws a lot of monsters in the field, on the board. Dragon Buster has a really strong presence. They cannot, not every deck can easily deal with it. So evenly matched, I believe, synergizes with the deck in a way. So yeah, it is a card that is so good that I believe it is worth running, like blindly going second. And that's why I run it. So this is the 40 card main deck. Now I'll go to the extra deck. I also have some choices there. First of all, I obviously run Triple Buster. It's such a fun card to play. We all know by this point that the biggest weakness of this deck right now is Call by the Grave. Call by the Grave can hit Dragon Buster so hard, you can tribute it as a cost to special summon all of the other monsters that are banished, the A, B, and C. And if it gets called by the grave, you lose all of your advantage. Everything you've built, you lose it. This is the greatest weakness, so you have to be careful when tagging out to summon the monsters again. If you see that your opponent is like holding that card in his or her hand, and is a little reluctant of setting it, is asking you if you want to tag this out in the end phase, you have to think twice. Sometimes it is preferable for you to maintain the Buster on your field. And talking about it, there is a card that really deals with this threat, which is the Ghost Bell, the hand trap. You can easily run the Ghost Bell rather than Ash or Veiler in this build here because it can negate Call by the Grave. So you can easily tag out the Call by the Grave, the Dragon Buster. They will Call by the Grave your Buster, your Chain Bell, and they eat your Dragon Buster. And you basically win from now on. I run 1 Seraphonite. Those are all the fusion monsters for the Brilliant Fusion engine. For the Nightmares now, I run 1 Cerberus, 1 Phoenix, 1 Unicorn, very pretty card, and 1 Mermaid. So first of all, it's the best toolbox of Link monsters nowadays, and ABC can very easily make Link 2 plays, especially with Clara and Rushika, which I'll talk in a moment. I'll talk about in a moment. Remember about the Hornet Drones thing? You make one of them, you do your thing, you disrupt something they have, and then you make a unicorn. But sometimes you cannot afford to make a unicorn pointing down. Sometimes everything that you have in your field is a link to possible link to play, and you can either make Underclock Taker or this. But you want to disrupt something they have. You want to pop that back row that is frightening you. So you make a Phoenix. And now that you have a Phoenix, you cannot make a Link 3. So you make a Mermaid pointing down, and you can make a Buster, because if you hadn't had the Mermaid, you couldn't have, summoned the Dragon Buster. So Mermaid is a very good card in the deck, very underrated as well. Although a lot of people have been playing it. 1 Clara and Rushika, it really adds up so much for the deck. You can make a Buster with one normal summon only, and that was literally impossible before this card was released, especially in the 2016 format. If somebody told you that you could make Dragon Buster with one normal summon, they would tell you you're crazy. And about this card, if you don't have an Yu-Gi-Oh hanger, but you have an A, B, and C in your hand, which, by the way, it's not very likely, but possible to happen, you can normal summon C, make a card, of course, in the main phase 2, so you can, obviously, you can use the Phoenix or Cerberus for this combo. You normal summon C, make a Clarion Rushika, trigger C, special summon B. With the B and Clarion Rushika, you make one of Phoenix or either Phoenix or Cerberus. It has to be one of them, so you can activate their effect, discard the third letter in your hand, which is a letter A, and also search off with B. So you have one of those cards in the field, and 3 letters in the graveyard. So you can just link up Mermaid, using them as materials, one of them as materials, and you have a Dragon Buster for free. Such a good combo, right? And for more Link monsters, I have one Underclock Taker. Sometimes you just prefer to have it. You don't want to make a Mermaid play, or you no longer have Mermaid. Also, the attack drawing effect is so good against some boss monsters. And I really like this card. I believe it is worth running in your toolbox. One Kagari Kagari and the Hornet Drones are the only Sky Striker cards that I run. This is the card that enables you to make those Link 2 Splash 3 plays with one card, which is absolutely insane and very good card. And if you run Reaper in the side deck, well, you have yourself a target. And finally, for the Link monsters, I have one Deco Talker. I think this card is very good with this deck, because it enables you to have an OTK with only 2 cards in your hand. One Union Hanger, and one Brilliant Fusion. With one Brilliant Fusion and one Hanger, you can actually have 8,200 attack on board, with Deco Talker pointing to a Assault Core and Dragon Buster. So these would, because it is pointing to 2 cards, you would have 3,300 attack with it, and 3,000 of the Dragon Buster, 1,900 with the Assault Core, so you would have 8,200. And also, it is a card that really synergizes with the explosivity of your 3rd or 5th turn of the deck, and you can easily make some multi-Ks with it, so it is mandatory for the ABC build. And the reason I don't play any rank 4 monsters, not rank 4, I'm sorry, any Link 4 monsters, any Links that are better than like Saruya, Borload, is because I run this. The Utopia package and the Tornado Dragon. I believe the Utopia package is very underrated in the format. And this is good because many people don't see it coming. And now with the release, now that Linkaribo is a thing, a lot of people are using the Linkaribo card. It has only 300 attack. It can negate an attack and make the attack of the monster that is attacking become 0. But the thing is, if they have a Linkaribo on the board and they are relying on that, and you are able to make a rank 4, you make Utopia the Lightning, because you can attack, activate its effect to become 5,000 attack. They cannot respond because this card doesn't let them respond, and man, you deal simply 4,700 attack on them. So it is really, you can run over any card that I can imagine in terms of attack. Diabolos, Borloads, I don't know, any good card that you're imagining right now. And it can really deal a lot of damage that on time is very necessary now that we have those new time procedure things. And one Tornado Dragon for the toolbox. I believe it is the best generic rank 4, discounting this. It is the best rank 4 generic. Baguska is a good card, but it's not good in the format because, well, it doesn't affect Link monsters. This is it for the 15 cards on the extra deck. And since I don't know your locals, I don't know who you play against, the decks that are popular in your area, I don't have a 15 card side deck, but I do have some options to give you. First of all, I have the Kaiju pack with one Gameciel, one Slumber, one Kumongos, and one Jizukido. I run Zukido. Not because it is a machine and not because it's light, but because it is strong. Sometimes you either open with Slumber and you obviously want to have the biggest kaiju on your side of the field and the weakest kaiju on their side of the field. But sometimes you have it in your hand, you tag the Buster out, and you can. I know it's a cheesy play, but you can tribute summon the Zukudo, I don't know, to one side, like to the middle of your field, and one of those letters that you're tributing is C. It will probably trigger because you are in this mid game where probably already have some letter in your hand, and you can make you are able to make Decode Talker with Buster, and you have a lot of damage on board. I know I'm kind of daydreaming, but since I've been playing this deck for a long time, like 1 year and something, this situation comes in clutch a lot of times. Trust me. Well, I also run triple red. I would also run triple red reboot because this card is so good against Paleozoic and cards that are heavily reliant on trap cards, decks that are heavily reliant on trap cards. You basically auto win if you resolve this against Paleozoics, and I know it's like, I don't want to say auto win, but it is really hard for you not to kill them with this card being resolved, because remember that I told you about the 2-card OTK that you have. If you had that OTK plus this, they basically don't have anything to respond, so you win the game. And also against Altergeist. Triple Torrential Tribute because it synergizes a lot with the deck. You know that combo that you chain 1 Torrential and chain 2 chain 1 Buster and chain 2 Torrential Tribute when something summons. You first destroy every monster on the board, and then you special summon yours. This is the basic combo, but some decks really struggle playing against this card, like the Magician. The Magician deck really struggles against it because it can hardly bait out back row unless they sided Cosmic Cyclone or MSC, or they have that Dragon Pit Magician that is the vanilla that pops up back row, but they never run it, so you are cool with that. I believe it is a staple in the format for you to have triple Twin Twisters in your side deck. You could either run it in the main or side deck, but Gokis don't. If you open this against a Goki, you will not use it, and it will become a dead card, which is never good. And I believe it is worth running 3 Twin Twisters, not 2, because you always want to see in your hand. And if you open double Twin Twisters, you can work around it. That's not a problem. Skill Drain is, if not the best, no, I believe it is the best trap card available on Yu-Gi-Oh right now. It is limited, but it really synergizes a lot with the deck as well as a tribute, Torrential Tribute. Because, well, you know that Dragon Buster can work under this, and a lot of decks cannot play around it. Skill Drain is very strong, and if you see that you are going to game 3 and you're probably going to time, don't side it in. If you're going to a game 2 after a very long game 1 with against a very grindy deck, don't side it in. But in any other circumstance, side this bad boy. And also I have triple Ripper. Let's imagine this is a triple. It's a third Ripper. This card is very good in the format. Everybody knows its price spiked up for a reason. You have a Kagari in your extra deck. You have the Buster itself as a target, and also you have Mermaid. And I know it sounds strange, but you don't want to have a Firewall Dragon or any Zodi or a Double Helix in your extra deck, or occupying a spot, because spots in the extra deck are very precious for you. But Mermaid can affect the Goki combo more than you imagine. And if you banish with the Ripper the Unicorn of the Spiral deck, the Spiral matchup, it really affects the combo as well, more than you can imagine. So you don't really need to have those specific targets. Although I understand why they are better, if you can afford to have them in your extra deck, good, you can have them. But Triple Ripper is very good. That's the point. And basically, this is my deck of ABC. If you have any commentary, any suggestions, anything to tell me, please tell me in the comments below. And I don't know how the hell you got here, because this channel is not popular at all. It has only 2 videos. None of them has any relation with Yu-Gi-Oh! But thank you for watching, and I'll see you around. Goodbye.